Mommy made me moo. This is Christopher John Björkness. It is January 22nd, 2025. I'm going to do the ultimate masterclass decode of the symbolism that was present at Trump's inauguration. I've been talking about these things for several decades. 20 years ago, I exposed the fact that there were two messiahs, Messiah, son of David, who is to be king of Israel in the time of peace in the Messianic era, and Messiah, son of Joseph, who is the Messiah anointed for war, who was Jesus Christ, who will return as the Antichrist to kill us all. The Messiah, son of Joseph, is a very treacherous figure. He represents the Leviathan of the West, the Christian, Roman, Edomite, Amalekite West, as I explained in my book, The Manufacture and Sale of St. Einstein in 2006. And he is the figure in Isaiah of Cyrus, in Isaiah chapter 45, verse 1, who helps the Jews and undermines the interests of the people that he poses to represent. And that is Donald Trump to a T. A decade ago in 2015, I exposed the fact that Donald Trump was a traitor who would sell us out to the behemoth of the East, to Russia, China, and North Korea, all in the name of fighting them. He is a treacherous, duplicitous figure who is working for the Israelis to destroy the West. But since the West is Amalek, it is the densest, hardest, most protective shell of the Kelly pot that protects Israel until it itself is destroyed. The nut is cracked, the fruit comes out, the spark of holiness is exposed, and it's only going to be exposed through the destruction of the Amalekites of the West, through the extermination of the Edomites, meaning the European peoples, also represented by Christendom historically, all signifying the Romans. So, of course, Trump naturally had an inauguration which mimicked the festivals of Saturnalia. The Romans worshipped the chief god of the Greeks. Well, the Romans worshipped Saturn, which is the planet Saturn, which is the Greek god Kronos. Trump is a very old man and is therefore symbolic of Kronos, Father Time, and his son Baron is a tall, strapping, strong young man who represents the figure of Zeus. Kronos eats his children out of fear that they will usurp his throne and take his place, and all this is symbolized by Trump and Donald Trump and his son Baron Trump. But the Romans took that to also represent the idea of a dynastic realm, that the father passes his throne and his crown to his son. So we see Baron Trump in that sense representing Zeus, the great god, who is Jupiter and Jove to the Romans, and Donald Trump himself representing Father Time, Kronos, the god Saturn, to the Romans. And Saturn is the seventh planet. And in Hebrew, Saturn is Shabbatai, as in Shabbatai Tzevi, as in the Sabbath, the seventh day, which signifies the day of rest, of the reign of Saturn. Saturn being the highest and supreme planet, Saturn being Seth Typhon, the god of the Hebrews. Now, this Antichrist figure was prefigured by a very famous Greek and a very famous Roman. The Greek was Antiochus IV Epiphanes, who sacrificed a pig in the temple, who forced the priests of the temple to eat the pig, which is not kosher, and who put a statue of Jupiter, of Zeus, representing Antiochus and representing the god of the Greeks. So they desecrated the temple, and they did it in a way that the Egyptians recommended that anyone who worships the devil, the god Seth Typhon, the god of chaos, the way to get at them and to prevent Seth Typhon from taking over the world and destroying the god Ra, the god Apollo, the god of the sun, was to desecrate their sacred animals and force the priests to eat the animals that they were not supposed to eat. So Antiochus IV Epiphanes was following an Egyptian book of spells on how to defeat the god Seth Typhon, because he knew that the Jews worshiped the god Seth Typhon. And he knew this because the Jews had an ass in their temple. They had Moses sitting on an ass, and they had a golden ass head to represent their god, Seth Typhon, who is the planet Saturn to them, the god Kronos and the god Saturn of the Romans. This festival, Saturnalia, is very significant because during the festival of Saturnalia, the masters, who were the Romans, over the slaves, who were the Jews, exchanged places. And the Jews then became the masters of the Romans, and the Romans became the slaves. This was a way of being merciful and celebrating life that the Romans did during the festival of Saturnalia. And Trump is doing that by making the Roman, Christian, Edomite, Amalekite West the slave of Israel. The slave-master relationship is reversing itself. During the Roman Empire, the Romans sacked Judea, sacked the temple, defeated the Judeans, and made them their slaves. But in Trump's festival of Saturnalia, just as in the Saturnalia festival of the Romans, all of that is being reversed, and the Jews are now masters of the Romans. They are masters of the Christian West of the Leviathan, and they are subverting it to bring it into war with the behemoth of the East, communist China, Russia, North Korea, and the Muslim nations. But they're doing it in such a way that they can sabotage the campaign of the Romans and ensure that the behemoth and the Romans mutually consume one another and destroy one another. They allow Chinese and Russian espionage into our military technology and fighting secrets, our tactics, our strategies, our plans. Israel transfers the technologies that we give to them to Russia and China, and it goes to North Korea and Pakistan and Iran, all enemies of the West. So their support of the Leviathan is actually the subversion of the Leviathan to ensure that we lose and that we Edomites are completely and utterly exterminated, as Amalek is to be exterminated, as stated in 1 Samuel, in Exodus, and in Deuteronomy. So we have a lot of gods involved in all of this. We have Saturn, Kronos, and very significantly, Kronos' wife, Rhea, who is ops in the Roman to her husband Saturn, but there is also Saturn's consort, Lua Saturni, and Lua Saturni and Ops are portrayed by Melania, and the outfit that she wore, her hat with a Saturn-like ring brim, which also can represent the new moon of Shekinah and Lilith. And we have their son Baron, representing to the Romans the son of Saturn, Jupiter, also called Jove. And in the Greek system, it would be Kronos and his wife Rhea and their son Zeus. And this process, this dynastic process of passing down the throne from father to son. And we see mighty Baron emerging as the new Zeus. And I'm going to give you proof of all this and further explain it. I'm just giving you an overview here. Now, also, for a very long time, for years, I have been exposing the fact that Elon Musk is emphasizing the rise and fall of the Roman Empire to mean the Edomite, Amalekite, Christian Roman West, rising and then falling. Trump, at his inauguration, declared that he was initiating a, quote, golden age of America. Very significant because Saturn was the god of what the Romans called the Golden Age. And the Golden Age was an era of prosperity, abundance, and wealth. And that is what Donald Trump and Melania Trump represent. And they initiated that with their plays in the cryptocurrency markets, demonstrating that they could create wealth and abundance for themselves immediately prior to the inauguration, which was a Saturnalia ritual. And part of that ritual is calling it the Golden Age, which the Romans called the Age of Saturn, and demonstrating the abundance and wealth that they represent through their plays in the cryptocurrency markets. And that goddess Ops, who is the wife of Saturn, who is Melania, represents abundance, wealth, prosperity, fruitful yields in the fields. And these are all things that Trump is talking about. But Melania, even more significantly, represents Lua Saturni, the wife of Saturn, who is an evil figure, at least in terms of modern interpretations of such things, in that soldiers used to sacrifice their captured weapons by burning them on the altar of Lua Saturni to represent the destruction of all their enemies. And they often in effigy would also sacrifice the heads of enemy soldiers to Lua Saturni. And Lua Saturni is often depicted with her head tipped slightly forward, so it becomes difficult to see her eyes. And we saw that Melania's hat shrouded her eyes in shadow so that they could not be seen. And she stood very rigidly in a pose that often depicts Lua Saturni. And all of that may well not be coincidental, but instead be part of this Saturnalia script for the inauguration of Trump and our entrance into the golden age of Saturn. But as I said, for a very long time, I was the first one to do it. Other people copy me and try to claim they came up with it, especially, well, we won't get into that right now. But when Mark Zuckerberg, and Elon Musk were going to go at it in a gladiator fight in the Colosseum, I immediately recognized that this was portraying the Christian, Roman, Edomite, Amalekite West and mocking us and cursing us and condemning us to the fall of our Roman Empire. And when Elon Musk would discuss the rise and fall of the Roman Empire, I would point out, and I was the first to do it, and the strongest to do it, and the most accurate to do it, that he was utilizing sympathetic magic to cause the rise of the Roman Empire of America and then the fall, the inevitable fall of the Roman Empire. And he is also symbolizing this Saturnalia idea that the masters become the slaves and the slaves become the masters. Esau enslaves Jacob, but then Jacob enslaves Esau. Jacob bows to Esau 7 times, as in the planet Saturn, only to deceive Esau into believing that Jacob is meek. And then ultimately Esau becomes the slave and Jacob becomes the master, and it is Esau who bows. And that is a very strong symbolism of the Saturnalia festival. So keep in mind, Trump specifically said at the inauguration, this is the golden age. That's an exact copy of the idea that Saturn was the golden age of the Romans. They had a capital city that they called Saturn in this mythological golden age. Trump is, of course, inaugurated in the capital. They no longer call it District of Columbia because they are dismissing the idea of Columbus and portraying him as an evil figure who destroyed the natives of America. It is also important to remember the gods Saturn, Ops, his wife, and Lua Saturni, his consort, and Saturn and Ops' son, Jupiter, Jove. In the Greek system, it's Kronos, his wife, Rhea, and their son, Zeus, and the dynastic idea that Zeus is being prepared to take over for his father, Kronos. Kronos is old father time. Zeus is the god of storms and thunder and lightning, and is strong and young and powerful and tall and mighty, like the figure that Baron Trump cuts. We saw Baron Trump talking to Biden, and then Biden looking very grim, as if Baron Trump is taking over Mount Olympia to be the king of the gods. We saw Trump wearing a purple tie, which represents Roman royalty. Joe Biden's wife, also wore purple to the ceremony. All of this is very symbolic of the Roman Empire. So let's have a look at some of the goings on at the inauguration.
Live look right now, Washington, D.C., where President Trump is hosting the presidential parade, which is being held inside due to the extreme cold.
And Fox Eye's Morgan.
Now look, you'll see Melania wearing a wide-brimmed hat, which represents the rings of Saturn. It's black, which represents the new moon and the rise of the shining darkness of the new moon on the 8th day. Her eyes are shrouded, and she stands in a very rigid pose, very much like Lua Saturni is portrayed. She is portraying Lua Saturni, Saturn's consort, and she is portraying Ops, Saturn's bride, who represents abundance and prosperity, and she made all kinds of money on the crypto market immediately prior to the inauguration, as did Saturn immediately prior to the inauguration. You see the giant Baron Trump looking stoic and strong, representing Zeus, representing Jove, representing Jupiter, the god of the Roman Empire.
Kai begins our coverage for you tonight. She's live in Washington.
So this is where Trump explicitly states that he's starting a golden age. He said it many times. Other people have quoted him on it and praised him on it. And this is all to represent and portray America as the second coming of the Roman Empire, but this time the Roman Empire is enslaved by Judea instead of the other way around. This is the festival of Saturnalia, where we become the slaves and they become the masters, and this is to build up to the fall of the Roman Empire, which is a theme that Elon Musk was hitting, and I was exposing him for it as sympathetic magic to represent the ultimate destruction of the West. Elon Musk is also talking about using America as a base to send people to the planet Mars. Mars is the planet of Samael. Mars is the planet of Din, punishment, and Gevura, strength. So we are to be the scapegoats, punished on the planet Mars, exiled to the planet Mars, expelled from the Garden of Eden of the earth to the planet Mars. All of these are symbolic of all of this Judaic, Kabbalistic mythology.
Office.
We will not be intimidated. We will not be broken. And we will not fail. From this day on, the United States of America will be a free, sovereign, and independent nation. We will stand.
We're obviously not a free, sovereign, or independent nation. Our rights of freedom of speech are curtailed by the plutocrats of the social media monopoly who are now swarming around Trump because he is Messiah, son of Joseph, the Antichrist who was prefigured by Antiochus Epiphanes IV, who sacrificed a pig in the temple, who forced the priests to eat the pig, and who put up a statue of the god Zeus in the temple. This is all to signify this evil form of Israel which exists today, which according to the prophecies must be destroyed so that true Israel can be eventually emerge. This is why Natura Carta and the Satmar Jews pretend to be anti-Israel, because this is all part of the messianic apocalyptic plan for Israel to be destroyed and leave only a remnant of Jews behind, as all Gentiles are exterminated, because this is the fake Israel which comes before the real Israel, which emerges in the age of Messiah, son of David. And Donald Trump is portraying the Gentile Messiah, son of Joseph, who misleads the West and sabotages the West so that it becomes destroyed, so that it engages in war and becomes destroyed, just as Hitler did to Germany. He was also Messiah, son of Joseph, and was called that by leading rabbis to pave the way for the emergence of Messiah, son of David. And then the Jewish Messiah, son of Joseph, who is also the scapegoat, is Benjamin Netanyahu. These are the messiahs anointed for war, but they ultimately sabotage both the Jewish people and the Gentiles and bring about the destruction of this fake Israel and complete destruction of the Gentiles, where the Leviathan and the Behemoth kill each other off. And a remnant of Jews in the book of Revelations, it's 144,000 Jewish male virgins, are left behind to then create the real Israel and the real kingdom of God.
And bravely, we will live proudly, we will dream boldly, and nothing.
Oh, I also wanted to mention that he said sovereign and independent, which we're not, because we're ruled by Israel and the Israel lobby. And we are not free. Our rights of free speech are heavily curtailed. We do not have our constitutional rights to keep and bear arms, et cetera, et cetera. And our borders have been wide open for a long time. But the reason he's saying that is so that he can betray NATO in the name of asserting American sovereignty and independence, so that he can prevent the International Criminal Court from prosecuting Netanyahu and other Israelis in the name of asserting American sovereignty and independence, and so that he can subvert the United Nations and prevent it from issuing resolutions and other measures to prevent Israel from committing genocide, as the United States has been doing all along. And he will do that in the name of American independence and sovereignty. So he's saying that in the name of fighting all of these international bodies, he's supporting America, but he's a perpetual pathological liar. And what he is really doing is destroying the independence and sovereignty of America to represent Israeli interests in all of those international bodies, which the United States is the biggest funder of, and therefore has the greatest clout and power over. And we saw this at the inauguration when he had a rabbi come up at an American inauguration and speak on the behalf of Israel and Israeli interests. So it is obvious that we don't have sovereignty or independence, and that he is just using that as a pretext and using it in name only in order to subvert our sovereignty and independence and make us subservient to Israel in these international bodies, so that our power is usurped and utilized to forward the interests of Israel and not of America and not of humanity, and in no kind of moral or consistent or ethical way with the principles upon which the United States was founded.
will stand in our way because we are Americans. The future is ours, and our golden age has just begun.
Our golden age has just begun. He has just said that we are the Romans in the golden age of Saturn. This is a Saturnalia Kabbalistic ritual, and it is a curse upon us because the Roman Empire fell, and today we are the slaves, and Israel is the master. This is Saturnalia, the golden age. Look it up. The golden age represents Saturn. So as I said, I've been exposing Elon Musk and his LARPing as a Roman Empire, as Cecius Maximus. Long before that, more than a year and a half ago, I was talking about when he was going to stage this fight with Mark Zuckerberg, that they were mocking the West and condemning us as a Roman Empire of bread and circuses, wine and circuses, and portraying us as this decadent, falling Rome in which we would all attend the Colosseum and the gladiator fights and the destruction and sacrifice of the Christian martyrs. This all represents the destruction of the Christians, of the Romans, and of the West, again, as in the Colosseum, where the Romans sacrificed the Christian martyrs and where they fought as gladiators. And I exposed all that at the time, as I'll show you. And then Elon Musk put up Gibbon's The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, and I exposed that as sympathetic magic, talking about the rise of America and then the inevitable fall of America at the hands of the Judeans. Under Nero, it was his crypto-Jewish wife, Poppaea, who instigated the Jews to burn Rome and then blame the Christians, almost all of whom at that time were Jews, for the burning of Rome. But it was instigated by Nero's crypto-Jewish wife, Poppaea. And so we see Cecius Maximus throwing up Roman salutes, which he knew would incite people to claim that they were Nazi salutes. The Nazis also dressed in togas and marched in parades on horses, pretending to be the Romans. They usurped German culture and tried to make it Roman culture of perpetual war, total war, empire. And now they're doing the same to America. And when Musk throws up those Roman salutes, he is cursing America to represent the declining Roman Empire, the fall of the Roman Empire, the fall of the Amalekite, Edomite, Christian, Roman West of the Leviathan, and the usurpation of the West to lead to its ultimate defeat by actually working to undermine our interests, to promote the interests of China, as Musk does, and as Trump covertly does, and to promote the interests of Russia and North Korea and the Muslims for this stage battle of Gog and Magog that I've been talking about for 20 or more years. September 24th, I immediately, on September 25th, posted this: Musk is pushing the destruction of the Roman Edomites theme hard. Do you view yourself as the Antichrist, referring to Musk, and believe it is your job to subvert Christendom and the West, Elon? Are you programming minds with memes in preparation for doing so with computer chips? This is what I posted way back on June 2023. Literal bread and circuses. If the wine and circuses. If the two Jewish social media moguls, Zuckerberg and Musk, fight it out in the Roman Colosseum, I'll be rooting for the lions. The two stooges are mocking us and Western civilization. Again, this represents sympathetic magic to bring us down as the Romans were brought down by Christianity. Hey, Elon Musk, are you LARPing as the Antichrist? Are these pretend Roman Edomites you're shooting at, well dressed in black? Why do you laugh at the destruction of Rome together with your Jewish buddies? Want to see Jewry exterminate Esau? You want to be, is it us you aim at when he was firing a Barrett 50 caliber semi-automatic rifle? And when Elon Musk posted this picture, the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, back again, it was September, I think it was September 24th, 2023. That same day, I reposted this and explained how it was sympathetic magic to destroy the Edomite Christian Amalekite Roman Empire of the Leviathan West. And that post got removed. And I pointed out that this represents the decline of the Roman Empire and is sympathetic magic. I also did a thorough decode of Cecius Maximus and how, again, it was representing the destruction of the Roman Empire as the Kelly-Pot of Amalek, the toughest, densest shell, which at first surrounds the holy spark in their mythology of the Israelites. It is the husk, the shell, the Kelly-Pot, the vessel for the soul of the Jews, and it protects them and goes to war and fights their wars for them. But in the process, it is eventually destroyed. The vessel is shattered to release the divine light of the holy spark, all according to Lurian Kabbalah. That is to be our fate, and we are to be annihilated and nullified into the nothingness of primordial chaos in that process. Elon Musk, my emperor name, which is in Latin as in the Romans, Cecius Maximus, shows some respect. The festival, Saturnalia. Saturnalia is an ancient Roman festival and holiday in honor of the god Saturn. It would go all the way to December 25th, Christmas Day, and it's the basis of the idea of Christmas. The holiday was celebrated with a sacrifice at the Temple of Saturn in the Roman Forum and a public banquet followed by private gift-giving, continual partying, and a carnival atmosphere. We saw people attending Trump's inauguration. Fetterman showed up in shorts and a hoodie. Bezos's wife showed up in a very provocative outfit. It was very much like a Saturnalia festival. Trump announced these people who were giving $500 billion for AI as private gift giving, continual partying, carnival atmosphere that overturned Roman social norms. Gambling was permitted, as in cryptocurrency, as in the dollar Trump coin and the Melania meme coin. So that this is all Saturnalia, showing wealth and abundance. And masters provided table service for their slaves, as it was seen as a time of liberty for both slaves and freedmen alike. At that time, the Romans were the masters, the Jews were the slaves. So on Saturnalia, the Jewish slaves became masters over the Romans and treated them as slaves, as has happened to America, the new Rome. The figure of the Christ returned as the Antichrist, of Messiah, son of Joseph, the Messiah anointed for war. Jesus Christ was that figure. He undermined the Romans, had the Romans destroy all their own gods and instead worship a self-destructive Jewish God who made them pacifists and slaves of the gods of Israel. This Messiah, son of Joseph, has returned as Donald Trump. The Christ returned as the Antichrist, to subvert us and lead us into destruction, to lead us into slavery to Jewry and subservience. As in Saturnalia, the master becomes the slave and the slave the master. This was all prefigured by the famous Roman Emperor Caligula, who wanted to put a statue of himself as the god Jupiter, as the god Zeus in the Jewish temple, and repeat what Antiochus IV Epiphanes had done of sacrificing a pig in the temple, forcing the priests to eat it and forcing them to worship Jupiter, Jove, Zeus, as the Egyptians had taught them to do, as a way of defeating the god Seth Typhon and his priests and his cult of the Jewish people, so that this evil god of primordial chaos would not take over the world and darken the skies and block out the sun god Ra, as they are today doing by geoengineering the atmosphere to become reflective and darken our skies. So they are reversing the process that Antiochus IV Epiphanes had done, utilizing Egyptian white magic to destroy the cult of Seth Typhon in Judea. And they are instead utilizing Christianity to get us to destroy all the pagan ancestral gods of the European peoples, and to sacrifice their holy animals and destroy their holy animals, like the 70 bulls and the goats that the ancient Greeks and Romans used to sacrifice in their rituals. So they're inverting all that to destroy all of our supernatural protection, so that the sun god Apollo, the Egyptian sun god Ra, is instead destroyed, and the god of darkness, formlessness, emptiness, takes over our world and converts it into hell. And that is the goal. That is the goal of this Saturnalia festival. We are supposedly going to enter this golden age that will ultimately result in our fall. And this is all LARPing and role-playing as a form of sympathetic magic to bring about all of these events. They are writing the script of the map of creation, so that all these events unfold as they have been planning them for 2,500 years. And I was talking about this in my book, The Manufacture and Sale of St. Einstein, where Philo Judaeus, Philo the Jew of Alexandria, wrote a lot about Caligula and what actually went down. And I referred you to the chapter in my book, The Manufacture and Sale of St. Einstein, about this, where I had all kinds of new insights into what all that really represented. Caligula abandoned his plan to convert the Temple of Jerusalem to a temple of the imperial cult, with a statue of himself as Zeus, as Jupiter, as Jove. And again, he is a prefigure of the Antichrist, which Donald Trump is LARPing as. When warned that the plan would arouse extreme protests and injure the local economy, I give the real history of that, and I rely upon Philo as my source in my book, The Manufacture and Sale of St. Einstein. And then I explained all the things that happened with Bernice and the subversion of the Roman Empire and Octavian and all the others, and how all that came about. I don't want to digress into that now. And I've got a new book coming out about all that soon. Antiochus Epiphanes prefigured Caligula. Scholars think the revolt also led to the writing of the book of Daniel. It wasn't prophecy, it came after the fact, where a villain called the King of the North is generally considered to be a reference to Antiochus IV Epiphanes. Again, the North represents evil to the Kabbalists, and in the Bible is portrayed as a place of evil. The portrayal of Antiochus there attacking the holy city of Jerusalem, but eventually meeting this end, would influence later Christian depictions of the Antichrist, who is now Donald Trump, the Christ returned, as the Antichrist LARPing as Antiochus, and LARPing as Caligula. Diodorus wrote that Antiochus sacrificed a great swine at the image of Moses. Moses was riding a donkey. That donkey represented Seth Typhon, the god that had to be defeated in this way, according to the Egyptians. And at the altar of God that stood in the outward court, and sprinkled them with the blood of the sacrifice, the blood of the pig. He commanded likewise that the books, the Torah, by which they, being the Jews, taught to hate all other nations. As I've been saying, the Old Testament teaches the hatred and destruction, the complete extermination of the Goyim, and this was recognized by Antiochus, by the Greeks, and by the Greek historian Diodorus. Should be sprinkled with the broth made of the swine's flesh, and he put out the lamp called by them immortal, which burns continually in the temple. Lastly, he forced the high priest and the other Jews to eat swine's flesh. And that was the way to defeat Seth Typhon that Moses wrote upon. And he also Antiochus revealed that there was a golden head of Seth Typhon, as well as Moses riding upon the donkey, the ass of Seth Typhon. Melania was set up to look like the goddess Lua Saturni. Her hat has her head pitched forward a little bit and shields her eyes. The brim of the hat represents the rings of Saturn. She is the consort of Saturn. She was also the wife of Saturn. Ops, who represents, again, prosperity, abundance, cornucopia, great harvest, and the golden age of Saturn. Saturn's mythological reign was depicted as a golden age of abundance and peace, and that is exactly how Trump is portraying himself to the world today. So that's my masterclass decode of the Saturnalia inauguration. Again, I was the first to decode all this going back for 30 years. And then in my book, The Manufacture and Sale of St. Einstein, I explained how the West represents Esau and Edom and the Amalekites, and how we are destined to be completely destroyed, and that this figure, Messiah, son of Joseph, who represented Cyrus and represented Jesus Christ, and now represents Trump and Netanyahu, is there to subvert the West and lead the Leviathan into war and into its own destruction in the name of world empire, in the name of eternal peace, often in the name of a millennial 1,000-year reign that will ultimately culminate in the return of Christ and the kingdom of God, the heavenly kingdom of God, and all the other mythologies of Christianity. This is all a setup. I'm the one who exposed it all, and it is all going down right now. I want to thank my contributors who made this possible, enable me to put this out for you guys for free around the world. If you would like to contribute, you can find my work at my book website, CJBBooks.com. My books are there. You can find contribution links. Again, thank you so much to all the people contributing. It is incredibly helpful. I couldn't do this without you. I hope that everyone out there is as grateful to you as I am. And my book, Beware of the World to Come, really spells all this out. But the whole outline of what was coming, I put in my book, Manufacture and Sale of St. Einstein, in 2006. And this is exactly what I described then is happening today. So don't fall for their scam. Trump is not your savior. You don't want to get led into this golden age of Trump scamming people, pretending to represent wealth and prosperity and abundance, but then subverting us, as happened with COVID, with the Chinese and the Russians and the North Koreans and the Israelis and the Middle Easterners, as the behemoth power coming to destroy the Leviathan. And that's what all this is leading up to. And I'll be explaining that very much as I have in the past, in the future. So please subscribe and like and share my videos. Thank you to everyone who has been reposting my stuff. I wouldn't get seen without you. I'm deeply grateful to you. Thank you so much. And I will see all you good and wonderful and generous and helpful people next time. We can survive this, but we have to make preparations to survive this. Consider this the eye of the storm. And the real storm is going to hit us soon. So utilize this time, this golden age of abundance before the staged fall of the Roman Empire. Let's utilize this golden age time to build something new so we can survive all of this. And I discuss that in my book, Intelligent Morality, which you can again find at my website, CJBBooks.com. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye for now.